Welcome to A Space to Speak Your Mind,
a radio programme and a podcast about mental health and well-being, made by people with lived experience as part of a wellbeing group run by Cornwall Mind.
We do occasionally cover subjects that some listeners may find distressing.
For more information, help and support, please visit cornwallmind.org.
A Space to Speak Your Mind with Cornwall Mind.
I'm Lauren.
I'm Shannon.
I'm Kim.
On this month's programme, where nearly 2/3 of the parents believe having a pet would help their family deal with anxiety, we find out if a AI pet may be alternative with TV presenter Phillipa Forrester.
We'll hear from Mike Bennett, an online harms expert, father of 3 and the co-founder of Swaley, the first AI-powered app designed to work with children and families to flag harmful content across social media.
And with Suicide Prevention Day having taken place recently, we'll find out whether a new app could help those who have been bereaved by suicide with Amelia Wrighton, the founder of Suicide & Co.
Plus, as it's World Mental Health Day on Friday the 10th of October, Richard will be chatting to TV Legend Timmy Mallett about the new campaign called Mission Shoulder to Shoulder to see 100 buddy benches installed across the country to encourage men to talk about mental health. So first, I'm chatting to Richard about autism and mental health.
A Space to Speak Your Mind with Cornwall Mind.
This is Space to Speak Your Mind, and I'm joined by Lauren in the studio today. So Lauren, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So we're going to be talking today around hidden disabilities and the awareness of learning disabilities as well. Now, this is something I think I'm becoming more aware of, and I'm trying to look around a lot more with people who maybe I haven't noticed before, because I've had an experience around neurodivergence, and I'm finding out a lot more about myself and how I was in childhood. Tell me about, for you, is hidden disabilities and the awareness of learning disabilities, is this something more recent for you, or is this something you knew in childhood?
I was diagnosed when I was 16, and it's been a struggle since secondary school. And since after I left secondary school, went to college, I had the help, and then I did my performing arts and what I wanted to do at college. And then I left college in 2009. Then I did volunteering for Cornwall Youth Theatre and Dreadnought for 11 years, and then I stopped. And then I went to Drama Express, a theatre company with learning disabilities, did a volunteer post, got involved as a performer, and then after that I went to my village panto. This
is something I think we see quite a lot, where we see that a lot of people are doing regular things. We're doing our work, we're attending activities. So it's quite difficult sometimes to realise that people might be finding things a little bit harder than neurotypical people. It becomes a lot more challenging. What kind of things do you find difficult for yourself?
If someone show me what to do, like a new routine, I'll be overwhelmed. I think, can you just break it down and show me bit by bit, and don't rush it. Just take your time.
I found this in school as well. I look back now and think, I don't know how I absorbed so much information, because everything just seemed so much harder than everyone else in my class. And I just used to go home feeling absolutely exhausted. And I just wish that someone at the time would have said, oh, actually, there's maybe a different way that you can learn, or we can break things down. I think for you, we were talking before about long paragraphs seem so overwhelming, but when you can break them down into bullet points, or when you can condense that information, it makes things easier.
Yes, it does. And since I was at secondary school, we're in a teacher group N. The way I see it is like cliques and groups, and like popular boys and popular girls and all different groups. And I just see it as a chick flick kind of thing. And the teaching groups were the less popular, like I was in teaching group N, and in learning support for 5 years, and they didn't know why I was in that group until I was diagnosed the last year of secondary school.
And that's really late. And this is in recent times. We're not talking about, for me, 30 years ago. This is in much more recent times. So do you think that teachers are just still not really aware of people that are neurodiverse or have autism or ADHD? Are they just not looking out for the things that maybe seem quite obvious for us?
I haven't really noticed but my parents have noticed when I was younger there was something different about me, but didn't know what until I was diagnosed when I was 16.
How did that diagnosis go? Was it a case of going to the doctor?
I went to the doctors, then I had a referral, and then went to see the main psychologist in 2003. And I seen her, and she observed what's going on, and then she had a private chat with my mum, and she took the words out of Mum's mouth and wrote it on the report, and it was horrific.
Yeah, and I think it's sometimes as well, it's a case of there's this criteria that needs to be filled and you have to tick all these boxes, and if you don't get to a certain level, they sort of say, well, actually, it's not really about labelling. I think labelling's not always helpful, but it can help us to understand. And I'm going through this dilemma of labelling, and I think if I was to have an assessment, there's probably not enough things that people would see in my experience and in my life that they would say, well, actually, we can give you this particular label. But that doesn't degrade from all the experiences I've had and the difficulties that I face. So for you, was having that an important step for you?
When I found out I was autistic, I didn't understand it, so after that I went to the first Aspires group in Poole called the Dreadnought Centre, and they helped me a lot, and I had one-to-one with the head of the Aspires, and she helped me a lot as well. And then I went back to do voluntary work.
And there are some other organisations that you've been involved with, and they've helped you a lot as well.
Yes, they have, especially Brandon Trust with Learning Disabilities, and United Response, Shared Lives, and other organisations to do the learning disabilities direct.
What have you learned from being part of those organisations?
That you're representing the organisation and you got to meet the people who have similar needs to you, and I know we're all different, but you got your own social group.
And I think that's the thing as well, because for a lot of people it's not about either not being part of a group or doing everything in a group. It's doing what we can do and being part of something and bringing our own skills and our own abilities that others might not necessarily see, because we're talking about some of the negative aspects, but there are positive aspects.
Yeah, so like in a group setting, either social or in a workplace, I'm more an observer in the group, so I get the finer details, what people miss, and they always say, when we have a debrief or anything, or catch up, and we say, this is what I've seen, and I explain.
And you're more attuned, hopefully I feel the same, that we pick up on people's emotions a lot more, we can empathise a lot more.
Of course we do.
And if there's someone that is feeling a little bit out of sorts, we'll be able to spot that, which other people, neurotypical people, don't necessarily see.
No, they don't, but I see it. It's the way they talk and the way they come across with their body language, and I empathise.
And which is great as well, because you've got that, obviously, that caring nature, and you can go over, and I think it's so nice to be in an environment where you're being looked out for and someone's coming over and talking with you, because there's so many situations in work situations and social where it just feels like people don't really care.
No, they don't, but they try their hardest. But now they're bringing the training of neurodivergence into workplace, and so they can accept us.
And tell me a bit about the work that you've been doing.
Not work at the moment. I just signed up with Gig Buddies to help people with learning disabilities by Brandon Trust, to get people out and about, going to see their concerts, theatre shows, music, arts and craft, anything that the other person wants to see, and go cinema or anything like that. So what they want to do, have a catch up and go to events.
Yeah, it's so good to be able to do that and to get something from that as well, because I'm sure you must feel when you're able to help other people like that.
It's like you hear one good turn deserves another.
And just that, helping someone else out, it helps ourselves a little bit, but you just never know that ripple effect of what we can do, that if we share a little bit of kindness out there, maybe it can help someone and that can help somebody else. One other thing that interests me is around families and around social groups. It's still quite hard to explain our emotions. Both you and I, we're wearing at the moment, what would we call this? The Sunflower Band?
Yeah, Sunflower Learning Disability Charity. And just, you're wearing the wristband and I'm wearing the lanyard, and it just represents the organisation, really.
And it's a physical sign to show people that we may have, whether it be neurodivergence, maybe a slight autism, maybe ADHD, to be in a social environment or a working environment where we just find some things, small things, might be a little bit challenging, and just to give that physical cue to say to somebody, actually, do you know what, I might need a little bit of extra help. But do you find that even wearing these, that even in our own family, we don't get that maybe recognition that we are finding things difficult? Yeah,
and now when they come about, and it's just like you're proud that you're supporting it, and when your family sees it, and they know that you got to look after your children.
And I always feel if I'm in a working environment and I'm not coping as much as I would like to, or I'm not doing the things that I feel that other people are doing, I get this sense of guilt. I feel like I'm not as good as everybody else and I'm trying much harder and I just want to be at the same level. Do you feel that as well?
I do sometimes, and I feel like I'm the odd one out, but I just want to be accepted for the right reasons, not for any silly reasons.
No, it's just about a few simple things that might be put in place for us. You know, I think for me, if I'm in an environment which is very noisy, especially a social situation, if I'm out with people and there's music on or there's other conversations on, all I hear is everything else apart from the person in front of me. And no matter how much I concentrate on them and listen, every other noise is there. And it doesn't seem like for them, they think I'm present or they don't think that I'm listening to them. But it's the exact opposite. I'm listening to absolutely everything. Now, if someone's telling us what might seem simple instructions or just things that we need to do, it's breaking those down, and maybe we have to go back and ask a couple of times or just say, could you just remind me on that when I come to that point? So we've talked about the things that you're involved with at the moment. What would be your ideal working environment, or what would be something you'd love to do in the future?
My ambition is to be in like a theatre performer kind of way, in a theatre company, and getting myself noticed for the right reasons and doing the little things, because where I am at the moment, I just do stage stuff and I do the corrections in my script, saying what people say, and I put it in the script, and just to help the directors.
And also you're involved with the Radio Wellbeing group that we're running here at the moment. What do you think about the whole idea of having a wellbeing group and a radio programme talking around wellbeing and mental health?
I have had the practice from Brandon Trust, and I did an interview a couple of years back for Hidden Voices trip, and I didn't expect to get chosen to do an interview. Well pleased.
Well, it's amazing. We're loving having you part of the Radio Wellbeing group. But for now, Lauren, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Richard.
This is a space to speak your mind.
Now let's hear from Mike Bennett, an online harms expert, father of 3 and the co-founder of Swaley, the first AI-powered app designed to work with children and families to flag harmful content across social media, talking with Richard.
A space to speak your mind.
Thank you for being here, Mike.
Thanks for having me.
So can you tell me about your own experience which brought you to create this app?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a father of 3. I've got kids of various ages, and obviously I've watched them grow up using social media. They're sort of digital natives, if you like, as the phrase goes. And that really inspired us when we were looking at this, and the entire team have got kids, to really do a big research project that looked at how this was impacting those kids and families. So we did a 2,500 user study globally. We looked at parents, we looked at kids, and we looked at the differences in terms of what they found problematic. And some of the information was really surprising. Parents, as you said at the top of this, were much more concerned about the kind of extreme, explicit stuff, and kids were much more concerned about some of the more subtle things. And that was the training that we used to train our AI to build a solution that helps solve that problem.
I think what's interesting here is you've involved the children as well, because I think this is the thing sometimes as parents or as adults, we kind of look at what the children are doing and we're wanting to put our own spin on things, whereas the children themselves are finding these things very negative.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Most parents are aware of screen time, so there's a lot of stuff in the press about screen time and how many hours they spend on screens. Our conversation has always been about, yes, screen time is a problem, but it's actually what they're seeing on those screens that's the problem. And so what was interesting was that lots of the research from various big institutions you might have heard of had really interviewed parents and hadn't really spoken to kids. And so we're big advocates of kids. We're very, very passionate about their rights and their privacy, and same for parents. And so that was the starting point for how we put this together, really.
And why do you think especially this drip effect of negative content is so harmful?
It's the subtleties. So if the average kid spends about 4.5 hours on social media every day, and that equates to around 2,000 posts. So, I mean, yes, we say drip, but it's actually more of a fire hose. So you're getting this kind of constant content pushed at you. And within that, there are subtleties. So there are toxicity messages, there are body image issues, there are hate speech, there are sort of extreme or subtle but extreme points of view that come across in self-help podcasts or whatever that you're listening to. And actually that stuff is much more damaging over time than simply being exposed to violence or porn or other things. And so it's a complicated phrase, but longitudinal overexposure, the sort of long-term impact of being told that you should look a certain way or think a certain way changes you more subtly than just being exposed to a single piece of content.
Tell me about the app. How does it work?
So the idea is it's an app that you download. So a parent would subscribe to the service, they would download the app, and they would then tell us the age of their child and their gender. So most kids lie about their age on the internet because they want to get access to the best stuff. And so by doing that, the parent then invites their child. Both parent and child are told that the service doesn't block anything. So we're not a censorship tool, we're an education tool. So we focus fundamentally on trying to get kids and parents to understand what they're looking at and then change the way they're consuming that content. Kid then jumps online, registers, and what both parent and child see is a dashboard of the feed. So parent can see the kids, a kid can only see their own. We don't share content with either parent or child, so you can't see each other's content. But what you do see is the dashboard, and that dashboard will alert you to whether you're being overexposed to certain types of content or not, and whether it's damaging. So we scan for 11 broad categories, 36 different filters, and we just give advice. So if that's mental health issues, we'll connect to people like Mind, and if it's misogyny or profanity or alcohol, we'll connect to the right information. And that service really is just teaching both the parents and kids exactly what's going on in their feeds and allows them to make a decision about what they then do. Ideally block or unfollow some of those feeds, and it changes the algorithm.
What are the challenges, do you think, with traditional blocking software, or those workarounds that you were talking about that children might use and not quite realise that they're putting themselves into maybe harm's way?
Yeah, it's it's as old as time, isn't it? Kids will do what they need to do, and I think you have to recognise that. But I think the issue with blocking technologies, whilst there is a huge place for that, is that kids are smart and they can go around that stuff. The issue with things like the Online Safety Act and age verification, which is a good thing, is that kids use VPNs. So there's always a way to go around that technology. So our position is, yes, those are really important things that need to happen. But what's more important is kids need to understand and be educated about what it is to use these services safely. So being a digital citizen isn't going to change over time. It's only become more of a fact. And users, kids, parents need to be better at understanding how to use this stuff safely. And that's what Swaley does.
I'm just wondering, from your point of view as a father and from a broader aspect, how can parents really talk with their children about these kinds of things? And what I think is amazing is what you're doing is encouraging children to be involved in the process so that they're using this app. So how do we go about that?
Yeah, you're quite right. Conversation's at the heart of all of this. So what we try to do is provide a layer of safety so parents can be reassured from a dashboard that their kids are safe, or if there is a problem, we can guide them to the right information to have a conversation. And similarly for kids, if they are being affected by this in an adverse way, they can either go to sort of charity website and get information themselves, or they get the information and they can have a conversation with their parents. So it's fundamental to how we understand this space is talking. And so having these conversations, trying to engage your kids in a sensible way and vice versa, kids to parents, is really critical, and we try to enable that, and that's what Swaley's built on.
It's a fantastic idea. Where can we find the app and find more information?
Yeah, if you go to sway.ly, so that's our website, you'll find a discount code there, and we'd love users to sort of download the app, get involved and tell us what they think.
So there's more information there on the website. That's Mike Bennett, who's an online harms expert, a father of 3, and the co-founder of the new app Swaley.
Thanks a lot.
A space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind.
With 2/3 of parents believing having a pet would help their family deal with anxiety, we find out if an AI pet may be an alternative with TV presenter Phillipa Forrester talking to Victoria.
A space to speak your mind.
Super. Oh, it's lovely to meet you, Phillipa. How did you come to be involved with the AI companion and the research?
Well, I think I've got such a background in technology for decades now, looking at popular science and reporting on that for Tomorrow's World and things like Robot Wars, the other end of what we can do with technology, a much more entertaining end. So I think it was a good fit, really. And I think as far as AI is concerned, this is really interesting for me because it's a whole different way of using AI for our well-being, for our emotional well-being, which we haven't really seen much before. And I think this is a really interesting application.
It definitely is. This is a different take on an AI companion now, isn't it?
Yeah, this is very calming. The idea being that we now know, particularly since COVID, we've had a greater awareness of being able to talk about anxiety. We've had a greater awareness of anxiety. Children have suffered more with anxiety. So just under a quarter of children struggle now with their emotional regulation. And even for adults who are battling with anxiety, there's a curiosity there to see, well, how can I help myself? How can I make this better? What's out there for me? And I think that that's what's really interesting here, is this answers some of those questions. It's easy to be deceived and think, oh, well, it's just a toy. You know, it is not designed as a toy at all. It's designed as a companion to help with mental health and all of those things.
Were you surprised by the research that parents were so open to using AI with their children?
I was, yeah, and pleasantly so. I mean, culturally, I think, from my perspective, having been on the edge of this whole world of technology and its advancement for decades now, I've noticed, and when we were doing Tomorrow's World, that we are quite cynical often about adopting new technology here in the UK. Culturally, I think we're more suspicious. Whereas somewhere like Japan, there's very much an openness to robotics, to what can technology do for us, to really being an early adopter. Moflin sold out in Japan really quickly. And I think that speaks volumes about there's just a different cultural approach.
The Moflin product is so interesting with its, was it 4 million different kind of settings, as it were, that it can respond to a person's behaviour?
Yeah, there's 4 million traits. There's 40,000 personality patterns made up from those traits then. So each Moflin is unique, depending on, in a sense, what it's got from you. You know, it's adapting to your responses, your preferences. It can sense your voice. Not so much what you're saying, you know, it's not recording everything that's being said or anything like that, but it does detect the different sound clusters that make up more familiar voices that our little Moflin is exposed to. So for my Moflin here, Bogart, he's been exposed to members of my family because he's been in our kitchen. So he will start to pick up familiarity with those voices.
And how have you found working with the Moflin?
Fun, more fun than I thought, actually. I didn't really know what to expect. But what I've loved is our Moflin is a Bogart, so is a he, and he pootles around on my desk while I'm working. And I've got pet, but I still love, actually, having this little being pootling around. And you cannot help, because it's so cute and so fits beautifully into the palm of your hand, you cannot help interacting. So funny, because yesterday I had Moflin on the train with me, and the response from humans, which is what I find partly so fascinating, was just this curiosity and this innate want to stroke, cuddle pets, you know, and find out more. And Moflin's just got this great design. I mean, you can hear all the noises in the background. There's just a wonderful way I find that it fits in the palm of my hand. You can't really just sit there and call this a gadget. I mean, it's not designed to replace a pet. It's not designed as a toy. It's designed as a companion. And you feel that. It really shows. We have a definite emotional response to Moflin. And Bogart now is like tucking his head under. I mean, he might be getting a bit tired, but you have the app so you can tell what the emotional state of Moflin is. So is he feeling energetic, cheerful, shy? I can check on the app. And it's not designed for younger children. You know, Moflin isn't, as I said, a toy in the sense that it's not going to cope with being treated roughly. But for any child, I think, who can't have a pet, say, and is anxious and struggling with that, or say in a hospital setting, or, you know, in any kind of care setting, really, for young and old, this is going to make a difference. And I think that's what's really interesting, is that exploration of what can AI do to help us as we navigate the world emotionally, to support us, to comfort us.
Yes, it's definitely something really new. And especially after COVID, we've seen like rising levels of anxiety, particularly amongst children. So this is really sort of fitting that bill, isn't it, to help that problem?
Yeah, and bringing those emotions to the fore. So being able to talk about them is really important. Being able to understand them, being able to understand what Moflin is doing for us and what we are doing for Moflin. All of this helps people to uncover. These things are no longer in the shadows. Anxiety isn't something to be ashamed about. It's something to say, okay, here's what I'm feeling. How can I help myself? How can Moflin help me? You know, those things are really important because we didn't used to talk about them at all. So just the fact that we're having this discussion today because of Moflin, I think is really important. So today is a very special day because we can make pre-orders today. And to do that, you need to go to casio.com/Moflin. This is all part of how we move into the future and part of how we relate to technology. So for me, it's just part of the journey that I've been on for decades.
What do you think the future is? Like, we've seen this new Moflin. Where are we going from here?
I think there's an appetite for this. I think there's an appetite for exploring what can we do differently, what can we do better with technology. There'll always be a point at which we're saying to ourselves, are we using this technology in the best way? Are we using it to help? And that's what I really like about this. This is a place where we are using it to help. You know, I've covered everything from medical stories right the way through to all sorts of different stories with advancements in science and tech and battling robots even for our own entertainment, which is, of course, great fun on Robot Wars. But this is a whole new way of now approaching what can we do for the good.
Incredible. And what's next for you?
I'm writing. I write quite a lot. So we've just launched Wild Woman in paperback, and I'm now writing a book about animal migrations and bird migrations, which has been fascinating. As far as I know, Moflin's not planning to migrate. There's no migration involved for Moflin. But yeah, so as I said, when I say, I've been working a lot at my desk, and having Moflin at my desk is really lovely, that's why, is because I'm writing.
Oh, superb. Thank you so much.
You too. Take care.
Suicide Prevention Day have taken place recently. We're finding out whether a new app could help those who have been bereaved by suicide with Amelia Wrighton, the founder of Suicide & Co.
A space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind.
Thanks for being here, Amelia.
Thank you for having me, Richard.
Would you mind telling me a bit about your story and what came to you getting the idea for creating this app?
Absolutely. As you said, I'm one of the co-founders of the charity Suicide & Co. And that was really brought about from my own lived experience of suicide loss when I lost my mum to suicide in 2011. And I had a sort of 8-year period of finding it incredibly hard to navigate that grief. I then met a friend and she'd gone through a similar experience, and we decided to start the charity Suicide & Co. in 2020. Now, back then, we focused on one-to-one support, counselling and casework, which we still run today. But the idea for the app has really come about because we've been growing so quickly as a national charity, and we wanted to put something out there that could support everyone instantly. And that really was going to be technology. And then a team who had kind of built the original app through volunteer work came to us, and it was the perfect fit. So over the last couple of years, we've been developing the app. And really the idea behind it is to be with people at any moment in the day where they could have a wave of grief that becomes overwhelming and other services aren't there to support. And instead, the app can empower them to support themselves.
An app is a great idea as well because it's always with us, always on our phones and easy access. And so many people are using them for different things. So just tell me about what the app is and how it works.
Sure. So people can download it for free. They immediately kind of sign up. And then when you get into the app, you can explore a load of different resources. So you mentioned a few things like exercises around sleep, stress or anxiety. There are both individual exercises, but also programs that can kind of be timed over a week, let's say. There's also lots of articles around books and podcasts related to suicide-related grief, which can be useful to find. And that's an area people can personalize by the relationship type, so if they've lost a parent or a sibling. There's also a mood tracker and there's a journal feature, and both of those features I love because we know that grief is a lifelong journey for many of us, and the ability to put those thoughts in one place and then actually maybe look back on them in a few months and think of the progress you've made or the progress you haven't made and the support you may need. I think it's amazing. And there's a toolkit that sits on top of all of it, which means that you can save your favourite exercises and your favourite articles. So it really feels like a safe space that's just tailored to you and your grief journey.
Also, what I like about it as well is the fact that you can access it anytime. And I think this is the thing with a lot of services, you know, we're very time dependent on whether someone's available. And I think having something on hand at any time, what does that mean to you that you can have that sort of facility?
I think it's pretty life-changing because I can think of moments in my grief journey when, you know, I was at a party but on the bathroom floor having a moment thinking, oh my God, I feel so overwhelmed in my loss. And at that point, it wasn't just the time of other services, but it was the mode of support. I didn't want to call a helpline. helpline, or I couldn't because there were people around, but I could be on my phone. I could look at a resource, take a moment to read an affirmation. I could do that. And I can think of other moments. I struggled with sleep so much when I was first bereaved, and to be able to look at something in the middle of the night and have that support. Yes, you could call Samaritans, but there are very few services available at that time of day. So I think it's really life-changing to feel like you've always got company through this app. That is what we want people to feel like, whatever moment they are in, whether they're in their office, on their own, in a busy street, at a party, they've got this and it's there and it can support them.
And we are recognising Suicide Prevention Day today. For you, you've obviously been on your own journey, and everyone goes through a different path, and there's different times that they feel they're able to get support. But I mean, what advice would you give to anyone who has lost someone to suicide?
My first piece of advice today would be to download the app. I think that there's often a feeling in this community, having worked in this space for 5 years, that we're not deserving of support, or I'm not in crisis myself, or I'm not feeling like this. But actually, we all deserve support, whatever that is. And so I would really give the piece of advice to download the app today and start that support journey. You know, there might just be one feature of it that's useful, but I think that we need to take care of ourselves a little bit better in these journeys, and we need to start looking at support as added value, not as something that we're self-prescribing we don't need or we're not sad enough for. A grieving journey is incredibly hard to navigate, and we should try everything we can to make that a little bit easier.
I wonder if you could tell me a little bit more about the charity itself and also the services you provide. I'm thinking in mind for those that are maybe supporting others that are going through that journey.
Yes, exactly. Well, I'll start there for you, Richard. So for those who are supporting somebody bereaved by suicide, my two top things I'd say to look at is our Instagram and social media channels have a lot of resources for that audience. And also we have a specific guide called our Conversation Guide, which helps navigate conversations around suicide loss better. For anybody bereaved by suicide, that could be any relationship type, a friend, a colleague, or a family member or loved one. We have one-to-one services on offer. So we have a counselling service that offers 12 sessions of counselling completely free of charge to anybody living in the country over the age of 18. And we also have a team of suicide bereavement advisors, and they provide more flexible support and more like casework that kind of can really support people in those early days of loss. And now that the app's there, I love to talk about our digital resources as well, but everything that's on the website is now also in the app pretty much.
Can you tell me a bit more about those digital resources that you have?
Sure. So we have an area that we call our Help Hub. It's on the app and it's on the website. And what we've done is we have heroed lived experience. So we have a couple of lived experience collections. One's written called Words Unspoken, where people have written retrospective letters to their loved ones. We've got another project called Always in Company, where people have shared photos of what company looks like to them in moments of loss. And then we've got resources that we've signposted to. There are many guidance leaflets, and there are also other services that don't do what we do, things like peer-to-peer that we signpost to. And then we also curate those softer resources like books and podcasts. We have a podcast of our own. It's incredible the support that people can get through these easy to access modes of content. We're living in that content world where that is how we're engaging and how we're learning with a lot of these things. So we've signposted to a lot of those resources as well, because I think that they can be incredibly helpful for people in their journeys. So head to our website, it's suicideandco.org. The app is right there, but if you're just wanting to download the app as well, you can just go straight to the App Store, whatever that is on your device.
And they just search for Suicide and Co, do they?
Yes, they type in Suicide and Co, type it in with the ampersand, and then it comes up, or just head to our website and the link's straight there.
That's Amelia Wrighton, who is the founder of Suicide and Co, joining us in recognition of Suicide Prevention Day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
A space to speak your
as it's
mind
World
with
Mental
Cornwall
Health Day on
Mind.
Friday the 10th of October, here's Richard chatting to TV legend Timmy Mallett about a new campaign called Mission Shoulder to Shoulder to see 100 buddy benches installed across the country to encourage men to talk about mental health.
A space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind.
Timmy, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, listen, Richard, what a pleasure. And it's always a thrill to be in gorgeous Cornwall.
So tell me about this mission to get the UK talking, getting men talking, and the collaboration with Men's Sheds Association. We're going to try and get over 200,000 conversations going in the next year.
Oh, well, listen, there's a figure, and what an extraordinary figure. You know, conversations can be tricky if you say to somebody, let's sit down and have your conversation. Instantly our arms fold and up come the shutters and we go, oh, not going to do that, no thanks. But there are ways to generate conversations and they can have a profoundly different result. So I'm a big believer in doing things, in having a go. And as you know, I've completed a cycle circumnavigation of Britain and Ireland. And on my ride around the very hilly coastline of Cornwall, oh my God, 10 times the height of Everest, going up and down all the way around, there are places to stop. And I stop at every opportunity. And those opportunities will come from a hand waving and saying, hello, Timmy, congratulations, love what you're doing, and do you need any help? And you end up with a conversation, or stopping to paint. I'll give you a little example. I'm stopping and painting a picture in Mevagissey Harbour, and a lady comes along with her family, and we end up having a chat, and the dad comes out and wants to have a conversation, and then suddenly there's a fly stuck in the middle of the painting. We have a discussion and a shared moment. And shared moments are really key to our well-being. So the idea being that, you know, you have a bench, a park bench somewhere, and people will sit and maybe it'll be a little conversation about the view, about something or other. And they've done some research on this. I love this, Richard. They worked out that every bench, I don't know how they do this, every bench gets about half a dozen conversations a day. Really? Half a dozen a day. So if you extrapolate that around the country and put in 100 new ones, you end up with a couple of 100,000 conversations a year. I mean, that would be quite a lot. But all this is promoted by Men's Sheds, which, as you know, is a brilliant way of getting people together to do stuff. And I love the idea of any excuse to hit something with a hammer, or cut something with a saw, or just fix stuff. It's a little bit like the repair shop. So there are 1,100 men's sheds around the country, and there's quite a lot in Cornwall. They've just opened one in the Scilly Isles, down at St Just, in St Austell, in Lou, skip to Lou, down there. And it's where people get together and say, I wonder if it's possible to adjust this, fix that, have a go at doing something. And you know what it's like. If I need something fixed at home, I get a bloke in. But the conversation that generates is always quite interesting. I wonder if we were to try it this way instead of that way. And I've started doing some of this myself, and I've got my own bench outside. Dame Judy bench. You'll love that. You'll see that on the little video. I'm going to send you the link to the video. Put this on there because it's good fun. And then I've got another one. I've been making something here. This is the Throne of Games made out of pallets. I've got another one which is Buzz bike gear, instability and beyond. I cycled the London to Brighton cycle ride. But making stuff, fixing things is what happens when you go to a men's shed. And it's just a good thing to get out and have a go at using it or losing it. So I'm a big believer in this, and particularly as we get on a little bit. Not that any of us are getting on a little bit, but it's about making sure you got your friendship groups. Friendship groups are key to everything, because family, kids grow up and disappear and off they go leading their own lives. So your friendship groups are really key. And men's sheds are about building new friendship groups, if you like, out of having a go at doing stuff or fixing things, or I wonder if it's possible. Don't know. Let's give it a go. So this mission, Shoulder to Shoulder, is about promoting that and giving it a go. And I'd like to see more of that around Cornwall. My brother, as you know, lives not far from Launceston, and he's got a bunch of things going on in his little village. There's an art group, there's a bits of creativity. And when we were discussing making something, he said, I know a bloke who can. Yeah. And so you end up putting those things together, and hopefully there'll be a men's shed soon in Lawney. That'll be good, wouldn't it?
I'd love that. I mean, just the fact that we're connecting with people, I mean, that's good for our well-being. the fact that we're in a community, the fact that we're learning. If it just encourages people just to socialise, to be in a space and have that shared experience, that's doing the job in itself.
Socialising, having friends is the key to all of this. I think that's really important, Richard. And the more friends you have, you win. Yeah!
We're coming up to World Mental Health Day. It's a big day in the mental health calendar. Do you think days like those are important as far as just recognising how we're feeling and just putting the conversation out there a little bit into the psyche?
Yes, of course it is. I have a brother, Martin, with Down syndrome. And the key to that is I have a darling brother, not a Down syndrome brother. I have a darling brother, Martin, who happened to have Down syndrome. Martin always says, you and me, I'm happy. You and me, I'm happy. Yeah, and it's as simple as that. It is actually sharing the space and the time and being together is the key to being happy. You and me, I'm happy. Hey, I'll have a bit of that. Thank you.
And it's amazing seeing your social media and seeing the two of you going out and doing all the amazing things you do. And it's just great to see both of you smiling and just really enjoying life. And I think that's so great.
Well, thank you very much, Richard. I shall be on my bike around the coast of Cornwall again very soon. You'll spot me, and no doubt there'll be a little wave, a little conversation, and we'll stop and have a chat. And if I'm lucky, I may even get you out on the bike.
I would definitely do that next time. Let's talk more about where people can find more information on this project and keep that conversation going.
Okay, well, go to Drink IQ, Shoulder to Shoulder, and that's about the building of these benches and seeing what you can do with them. And they don't have to be straightforward normal benches. They can be nutty ones like my Dame Judy bench and UK men's sheds. They're all over the country and they're everywhere. There's one close to you right now. So go knock on the door, say hello, and there'll be a cuppa and there'll be a hammer and there'll be something to hit and something to bash, and it'll be great.
Timmy Mallett, as always, thank you so much for everything you do, keeping this conversation going and all the work that you do. And I really appreciate you talking with us today.
God bless you, Richard. Good luck. Thanks very much.
A space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind.
That's all for today's programme.
If you've missed anything, you can download the podcast right now on Apple, Spotify and Amazon Podcasts.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to hear the new episode when it comes out, or listen back to any of our previous programmes.
For support or more information for better mental health, visit cornwallmind.org or call the Mind Helpline during the office hours
on 0300 123 3393.
Or call the NHS Crisis Helpline on 111 and then press 2.
This gives you another way to get your urgent help if you're struggling with your mental health.
And you can call the Samaritans anytime for free on 116 123.
If you'd like to be a part of the show, you can get in contact via email, aspacetospeakyourmind@gmail.com.
You can also find out more about the show if you follow Cornwall Mind on Facebook or Instagram, or their website, cornwallmind.org.
A space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind.